and welcome to Self-Care Tips. I am Irene Njoroge, and one of the things that you need for your self-care is having the right contacts at the right time. You need to have contacts of people who can help you at a moment's notice, people who will not let you down. These are known as the crucial contacts for your self-care, and we're going to go through some of the most important one by one, beginning with a mechanic. Do you have a good mechanic you can call? Even if you're miles and miles away from your usual place, they'll come, fix your car, give you whatever help you need, and even help you buy genuine spares without overcharging you, and then you can end up in a lot of trouble. So your mechanic is one of the people who are supposed to be number one in your self-care list. Second of all, you need a doctor, or at least a hospital where you can get help at a moment's notice, whether or not you have money. But of course, it helps to have your insurance cards. So have your doctor, and that really, really counts. Let's not forget your lawyer. You can get into trouble anytime, and we're talking about legal trouble. Being arrested, it is not funny when you don't have anybody to bail you out. At least have a lawyer who you can call. They can talk to the cops or whoever it is, or anywhere where you may be. If there's a dispute or something has happened, a lawyer you can call at a moment's notice. They'll come in and really speed up that legal issue that you need solved. This one might be a bit sensitive, but you need to know people in high and low places. You need to know policemen. You need to know every kind of person who can assist you, and make a point of getting to socialize, getting to just have a good word with people whose numbers you have in that book, someone you can call. Now, don't forget to put your ICE number on your phone, emergency contact. This is a number in case anything happens to you. Anybody who can get hold of your phone will be able to see that number, and they'll know this is the next person that they can call to help you out. This has been Self-Care Tips. I am Irene Njoroge, wishing you a good night, and keep your contacts handy.
As the world gears up for the World Athletics Championships and Commonwealth Games, Athletics Kenya holds trials to get the nation's representatives at these global events this Friday and Saturday. Watch the trials live on KBC Channel 1 this Friday and Saturday. KBC, your true sports partner.
The Postal Corporation of Kenya Staff Pension Scheme and Staff Retirement Benefit Scheme will be holding its annual general meeting on 30th June 2022 at the Hilton Hotel Ballroom from 9:30 a.m. The event will be live on KBC Channel 1. Postal Corporation of Kenya Staff Pension Scheme. My pension, my comfort.
Cynthia, Nyamai. Now today, Azimio Kenya Kwanza talking about education promises and the new systems that they are going to come up with, that and much more in the political scene and also in sports. Karen Kibet has all the sports stories for you. But first, let's have the highlights. Pushing the education agenda. Azimio la Umoja One Coalition and the Kenya Kwanza Alliance pledges reforms to enhance the implementation of the competency-based curriculum. War on COVID-19. A government urges Kenyans to adhere to containment measures and take vaccines as the positivity rate climbs to above 15%. And family on the World Rally Championship calendar, Kenya to continue hosting the Safari Rally for the next 5 years. Lensa Odingo is our sign language interpreter for tonight. And remember, we would like to hear from you. Do send us your feedback and comments on our social media pages, KBC Channel 1 on Twitter, Facebook, and also Instagram. And I will be reading some of your comments. In fact, some of the stories that we have tonight are ideas and feedback that we got from you. Now, to politics, where Azimio la Umoja Brigade on Thursday took their campaign to Marsabit County, with Raila Odinga reiterating his promise for education for all. Odinga said his administration will prioritize the pastoral communities, where he outlined his agenda for the nomads, among them compensating them for their lost livestock during drought seasons, building slaughterhouses, among others.
Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition has rallied the people of Marsabit to back Raila Odinga and Martha Karua's campaign for the presidency.
Kuanzia primary mpaka hata chuo kikuu. Hakuna kulipa karo tena.
The leaders said they will ensure the region is not left behind in efforts to spur development in the country.
Na kukopesha pesa kwa zile biashara yao na walipi chochote mpaka baada ya miaka 7. Tunataka kuchimba mabwawa ya kuvuna maji, ili saa ile mvua inanyesha tunavuna maji.
Odinga promised residents that he will slay the ghost of corruption and make revenue work for the benefit of all.
Wale wafisadi ambao wanaiba mali ya umma tutawashika yote na kuweka ndani. Tutaleta kiwanda ya kutengeneza naye hapa leather.
Martha Karua and Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, who accompanied him, called for political sobriety as the country heads to the poll.
Tuige amani na tuombe kura hata za MP na za governor kwa njia ya amani.
Na wasihi ili mjue kwamba sisi baba akichukua usukani, hamtapigana na mawe tena, hamtachapana tena, hamtaoana tena.
Odinga said once he ascends to power, his administration will address the issue of insecurity in the region and work towards ensuring peaceful coexistence of communities living in the area. Ruth Wamboi reporting for Prime Edition.
Deputy President William Ruto says his administration will hire 116,000 more teachers to help solve the current shortage of tutors. Ruto says if elected into office, the Kenya Kwanza government will also reform the competency-based curriculum to accommodate the input of all stakeholders. Geshuki Washira has the report.
The Kenya Kwanza Alliance, led by Deputy President William Ruto, engaged stakeholders in the education sector at the Catholic University on how to improve the sector.
And when we conduct education in the process of dialogue in this way, we will never go wrong.
And as Kenya Kwanza, we will be happy to sign a charter with the education sector on agreed parameters.
Ruto promised to solve the teachers' shortage by hiring 116,000 teachers in 2 phases at a cost of 25 billion shillings. Acknowledging the need to invest in teachers, the UDA presidential flag bearer also committed to abolish the delocalization policy and replace it with a program that implements nationalization at the entry of teachers' colleges.
And subsequently, an incentive will be made available so that teachers who voluntarily want to teach outside their counties and outside their localities can be paid an allowance in promoting the national nature of our teachers.
Ruto said his administration will reform the competence-based curriculum to make it more responsive to the needs of all stakeholders.
We also agree that 5 years down the road, it's time to review, in accordance with UNESCO recommendations, the CBC program, so that the issues that have been identified by teachers, by parents, by students, and other stakeholders can be subjected to a robust public conversation.
The Deputy President further indicated if elected president, he would consolidate various boards funding higher education into one that will inform on skills to fund the higher education institutions. Gishoki Washira, Prime Edition.
Political parties have been urged to promote messages of peace, cohesion, and tolerance ahead of the general elections. According to the Political Parties Liaison Committee, candidates must embrace their opponents' divergent views during and after the polls. As they flagged off peace caravans in several counties, the two bodies say they are keen on cultivating a cohesive spirit for the country.
The Political Parties Liaison Committee has flagged off peace caravans across counties identified by the National Cohesion and Integration Commission as violence hotspots. The caravan seeks to ensure Kenyans are united going into the polls.
Uchaguzi unaendelea na watu wakuwe conscious mambo ya amani kwa sababu nchi ni yetu. Kisigitio yetu ni kwamba different opinion but one nation, na uchaguzi sio uadui.
Tupige kura kwa amani, twende nyumbani, zihesabiwe, tuendelee na shughuli zetu. I am looking forward to baada ya uchaguzi nione mama mboga ametoa mboga zake ameendelea kuuza.
Political parties have been challenged to coin their message around peaceful coexistence and tolerance.
Demonstrate to Kenyans that parties can work together without discriminating each other, so that we can show a good example to the citizenry of this nation.
Tukianza juu kuteremka chini, kiongozi wa chama kutoka juu kama ni party leader aamue aseme yeye hakubaliani na watu ambao wanafanya incitement au wanararua posters za wenyewe. Hiyo itaenda chini mpaka kwa mwanachama na candidate ambaye yako chini kabisa.
Si lazima sote tuzungumze kwa lugha moja, lakini katika Elections Act haifai mtu kurarua billboards za wenyewe. That is an election offense na unaweza kushtakiwa na ukakuwa fined, ukakuwa charged.
The IEBC, however, noted that the independent body is concerned by the low turnout of applicants for IEBC-related jobs, particularly in Mombasa County, calling on the locals to grab the chances that are likely to be re-advertised.
Jibebe, na tuambie watoto wetu waweze kuapply. Kazi ziko, tusikue katika vibaraza tu na kushirikiana katika maovu. IEBC ina kazi za kutosha kwa vijana wakati wa kupiga kura.
The Liaison Committee, which brings together the IEBC and the Office of Registrar of Political Parties and other players, want politicians to be accommodating of divergent opinions in the run-up to the August 9th general elections.
What we're encouraging our candidates is to embrace. If you win, you celebrate. If you lose, take it in your stride, because we have tomorrow. If you destroy the same Kenya, then which other day do you live to fight again if there'll be no country for you to compete in?
The calls have been echoed by the clergy, who want Kenyans to go to the polls united by the love for the country. Juni Karisa Mbele from Mombasa County.
Now, away from politics, where the African Court has ordered the Kenyan government to respect, recognize and compensate the Ogiek community. The Ogiek community is to be compensated at 157.85 million shillings for material and moral damages, including restitution. The orders follow a 2017 ruling at the same court where it was established that the Kenyan government had violated the Ogiek's right as guaranteed by the African Charter of Human and People's Rights. This and more news from the courts in our Scales of Justice segment.
It is a big win for the marginalized Ogiek community after the African Court in Arusha, Tanzania, ordered the Kenyan government to compensate them 57,850,000 Kenyan shillings for material damages and 100 million shillings for moral damages, including restitution. The hunter-gatherer community has over the decades suffered forced evictions from their ancestral land in the Mau Forest. The reparation orders follow a 2017 judgment where the Arusha-based court ruled that the Kenyan government had violated 7 different articles under the charter, including the rights to life, property, freedom from discrimination, culture, freely disposal of wealth, and natural resources and development. Meanwhile, activist Frederick Bikari has filed petition before the Judicial Service Commission seeking the removal of High Court Judge Justice Anthony Mrema. The activist wants the judge removed on grounds of, among others, gross misconduct and misbehavior, incompetence, bias, corruption, non-observance and adherence to the law and public interest principles, partiality, breach of Chapter 6 of the Constitution and breach of judicial service regulations. This follows a judgment Justice Mrema delivered limiting the drafting, signing and presentation of charge sheets to the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, which he alleges has disrupted the activities in the criminal justice system. Consequently, the Court of Appeal stayed the orders issued by Justice Mrema limiting the drafting and presentation of charge sheets to the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, pending a ruling on the 7th of October 2022. Serafina Roby for Prime Edition.
Now, this is a story that you should be paying attention to. The Ministry of Health has raised a red flag over the upsurge of the numbers of COVID-19 cases in the country. The positivity rate has now risen from 12.8% to 15.4%, with 559 people testing positive for the disease from a sample size of 3,639 screened in the last 24 hours.
The Ministry of Health is urging Kenyans to be mindful of their habits and adhere to COVID-19 protocols as another wave of the pandemic unfolds. Speaking during the official launch of accelerated vaccination of COVID-19 in Vihiga County, Health Principal Secretary Susan Mochachi said the new wave of COVID-19 must be taken seriously. Mochachi said the new wave calls for strict adherence to vaccination protocols and safety measures already outlined by the ministry. The country's positivity rate climbed to 15.4% on Thursday after 559 people tested positive for the disease. For Prime Edition, I am Esther Bodo.
Now to education matters, where Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha has assured parents and students in Baringo and West Pokot counties that security has been beefed up to ensure safe and uninterrupted learning takes place. Speaking while in Bungoma County to evaluate the new CBC classrooms, Magoha noted that Bungoma County has the highest number of students and will ensure that the CBC classrooms are completed by Sunday.
Together with all the stakeholders, the teachers, and we have decided that we shall complete the classrooms by Sunday this week. Look at Baringo, where everybody would have thought that in Tiati, where there is absolute insecurity, we have already completed the classrooms there. And even in Marigat, we have completed classrooms, we just have 2 to go.
Let's take a short break, but when we come back, Public Service Day and what the President has to say about it coming up shortly after the break.
As I relinquish power, my one message to you is that you should support our new president and our country and give up the good work that you have done so well as to earn the respect that you have.
Top sports attractions on KBC Channel 1. In July, Kenya Morans face off against the DRC, Egypt and Senegal in the FIBA Basketball World Cup African qualifiers in Alexandria, Egypt from 1st to 3rd of July 2022. Also in July, Kenya plays South Africa in Rugby League test matches in Nairobi with a return fixture set for October. Still in July, watch the World Athletic Championships from 15th to 24th July live from Oregon, USA as Kenyan athletes seek glory. Followed by the 22nd Commonwealth Games from 28th July to 8th August live from Birmingham, England. In August, join our coverage of the World Athletics Under-20 Championships from the 1st to 6th of August 2022 from Cali, Colombia. Then, in November, catch the World Half Marathon Championships on 13th November from Yangzhou, China. Now that's what sets us apart as KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Our arts and entertainment industry has evolved over the years.
It is at such times that our destinies are written. Will we rise up in courage or die in cowardice?
Who are the movers and shakers in film and theatre? Get trendy as we review locally produced films and stage drama every Wednesday at 9 p.m. on Cinemas and Theatre.
Brought to you by the Kenya Film Commission. Film Kenya, Capture Africa.
Welcome back. President Uhuru Kenyatta says the COVID-19 pandemic challenges rejuvenated the public service sector's use of technology and innovation. In a speech delivered by the head of public service, Joseph Kinyua, President Kenyatta said technology and innovation have not only enabled the public to continue offering quality service delivery to the public, but has also made the implementation of government plans run without disruptions during the pandemic.
President Uhuru Kenyatta says the COVID-19 pandemic has stimulated Kenya's inventiveness and rejuvenated the public service. In a speech read on his behalf by the head of public service, Dr. Joseph Kinyua, the head of state said the pandemic has even enhanced the country's manufacturing sector. He cited the quick response by local manufacturers to produce personal protective gears that were used not only in Kenya but also sold to the neighboring countries. The president noted that the pandemic has also taught African nations to be self-reliant by utilizing their local resources as well as building human capital to efficiently deal with COVID-19.
Even as we pursue the benefits of a globalized world, the homegrown solution would always be the most sustainable solution. The public service is the anchor for the homegrown solution.
While commending public servants for their resilience and hard work, the president asked them to observe high moral standards and integrity in service.
How would I wake up and say, I'm denying my dear sister here a service? For what reason? So we need to wake up, and as part of public service, we should be the one to set a good example and say, I'm there to serve each and every Kenyan.
The Public Service Week had been convened under a running theme celebrating public service transformation 10 years and beyond.
Kenyans are now able to renew their driving license, register a company, receive examination results, update their National Hospital Insurance Fund status, and file their taxes from the comfort of their homes.
Recently, we moved to cash transfer rather than getting our people go to chief's camp, line a whole day, get 2 kilos of maize. If you give these people 3,000 per month, those who are really vulnerable, I don't have to buy maize, I don't have to have beans, I can buy potatoes.
Head of civil service, I think it is important we encourage all counties to embrace performance contracting if we have to grow together as a country.
Public servants who have excelled in various categories such as innovations for inclusive service delivery, among others, were awarded during the ceremony. The Africa Public Service Day is in the calendar of the Africa Union and is marked to reflect on the functions of public service and take stock of achievements and challenges in the sector. Nancy Okware, Prime Edition.
The Ministry of Education says it is committed to ensure that youths in the technical and vocational education training TVET are well equipped with state-of-the-art competencies to match the job market. Principal Secretary, State Department of Technical and Vocational Education Training, Dr. Margaret Mwakema, notes leveraging on the internet will create opportunities for innovation and bridge the unemployment gap.
The government says there is need to align the training system at the technical vocational education training institutions with the 21st century skills in the wake of evolving technology and the ever-changing labor market demands.
And leveraging on the internet explosion will also create a unique opportunity for many of you to become innovative, to be able to provide solutions that will bridge the gap of the ever-rising unemployment level.
It is against this backdrop that the government, through the partnership of the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization and the Korean Embassy, engaged a total of 41 managers and 89 trainers of TVET institutions across the country to equip them with advanced technology skills that will enable them grow careers, skills and competencies that can inform the labor market.
When we are equipped with the various technical and professional and other competencies, we should be able to deliver.
And it's aimed at strengthening TVET programs for skills development and job creation.
Principal Secretary, State Department of Technical and Vocational Education Training, Dr. Margaret Mwakema, who presided over the graduation ceremony, said TVETs remain the future of the country, economy and the youth.
And I believe these are also the skills that will help to raise the profile and the image of TVET.
We need to sit back and ask, are we doing it right? Are we delivering? Are we getting the right outcomes? And this is one such thing that this course achieved in a very special way.
The space will reach a point where we are over, it will not be possible to have face-to-face, and the resources will be overstretched. And so this is an opportunity. The online teaching model is an opportunity for many institutions to be able to embrace numbers.
TVET institutions are said to have been among sectors hard hit by the COVID-19 pandemic, as more of the coursework is practical. Kamche Menza for Prime Edition.
And now to Crime Watch, where detectives have rescued 60 victims of human trafficking who are being held against their will in an apartment in Tasia in Embakasi, Nairobi. According to the Directorate of Criminal Investigation, the victims aged between 14 and 50 were being trafficked from 2 countries neighboring Kenya to the north against their will. The victims and the suspects are currently being held at different police stations in Nairobi pending legal procedures.
Acting on intelligence leads from sleuths based at Directorate of Criminal Investigation Transnational and Organized Crime Unit, augmented by Embakasi-based officer, while on a crackdown on illegal immigrants, traced the victims to a residential apartment within Tasia in Embakasi, Nairobi County. After securing the perimeter of the premise, the detectives gained entry into the premises and rescued the 60 victims of human trafficking. 3 suspects of Somali origin were arrested on suspicion of being a part of a large human trafficking syndicate operating across the Horn of Africa. The 3 were identified as Mohammed Omar Aden, aged 29, 43-year-old Halima Mohammed Osman, and 23-year-old Salah Yusuf. It was established that the victims had been ferried to the location for a short stay as the traffickers sought ways to transport them outside the country undetected. Elsewhere, residents of Archer Post Town in Samburu County are calling upon the national government through the Ministry of Interior and coordination of national government to scale up security in the area.
Kuna wasiwasi, mara tunaporwa, tunapigwa, watu wengi wanaangamia, sana sana vijana hapa huwa kuna shida kabisa. Ifika tu masaa jioni, tena hata wale maaskari tuko naye hapa ni wachache hawawezani nayo.
The business community is complaining of losses, saying they are forced to close down their shops at 7 p.m. due to insecurity.
Sasa ile harakati wakati wezi wanakuingilia, wanakuchikia silaha. Sasa baada ya kuchikiwa silaha inabidi upeane mali yako yote. Security hakuna kabisa. Watu ongezee security ya kutosha.
Resident also asked the national government to conduct a disarmament exercise, alleging an increase in firearms in the hands of civilians. Elvis Otieno for Prime Edition.
Property worth millions were destroyed in an inferno that raised Garissa open-air market to ashes on Thursday morning. Elsewhere, Bomet Governor Professor Hilary Bakok has initiated plans to establish a student exchange program with universities in Greece. This and more stories in our county news round.
Property worth millions of shillings has been destroyed in a fire that raised down Garissa open-air market, commonly referred as Souk Mukti, in the wee hours of Thursday morning. The market that houses more than 5,000 traders, mostly small-scale, was reduced to ashes in what traders are saying is the 5th inferno, calling on the government to provide a long-term solution.
The main market of Garissa, where the mamamboga, where the very poor were having a living out of it, even through all these difficulties, has gone to ashes today.
Elsewhere, Interior and Coordination of National Government Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i is urging newly recruited prison cadet officers to render great service to the nation in line with their mandate. Dr. Matiang'i spoke while presiding over the official opening of the 2022 cadet course at Prison Staff Training College in Ruiru.
You must uphold the highest possible standards of human rights. People who come through our institutions come here because they have challenges and they need to be assisted to regain normalcy and to get back to normal society.
Yes. Welcome. And Bomet Governor Professor Hilary Barchok has initiated plans to create a university exchange program focusing on technical aspects of education with university in Athens, Greece. Professor Barchok made the announcement when he hosted a delegation from the National Technical University of Athens, Greece, led by the rector, Professor Andreas G. Bodovou.
This is one way of strengthening our relationship with other countries and promoting business and exchange programs, especially when it comes to sharing of knowledge and best practices in technical areas and other areas that
In Kisii County, senatorial aspirant Dr. Kennedy Omanga has pledged to undertake his oversight role with dedication if elected on August 9. Speaking in Keroka Town, Dr. Omanga, who donated a wheelchair to a street beggar, urged the electorate to vote in visionary leaders.
Elect a governor of your choice, but do not allow the governor to bring for you the senator to elect for them, because he will not oversight that governor.
Finally, Turkana Governor Josephat Nanok and nominated Member of Parliament Wilson Sosion have faulted the implementation of the competency-based curriculum, claiming it has caused confusion in the education sector.
Hiyo masomo ya CBC ililetwa kumaliza public schools. Tumeona makoa sasa naomba private schools ati kufungua madarasa. Na nilipigana kwa hiyo kitu kabisa.
Samuel Karaoke reporting for Prime Edition.
Let's take a break now, but when we come back, business coming up shortly.
Do you have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723-892-654 or 0734-780-124.
Welcome back. Time for business, where the government is collecting about 24 billion shillings monthly in taxes and spending 21 billion shillings on fuel subsidies, making it unsustainable. Petroleum Principal Secretary Andrew Kamau says this has drastically reduced tax revenue for petroleum products to a level where the government is barely collecting any tax from fuel.
The National Treasury last week announced plans to gradually adjust fuel prices in a move aimed at eliminating the need for fuel subsidy. In the latest monthly pump price review, the cost of a litre of super petrol, diesel and kerosene all went up by 9 shillings. Without the subsidy, a litre of super petrol would in Nairobi be retailing at 184 shillings and 68 cents, diesel 188 shillings and 19 cents, while kerosene at 170 shillings and 37 cents.
When we look at what the prices are elsewhere, they are on the way to 200.
The Petroleum PS reiterated the government's position that fuel subsidy is unsustainable in the long term. Through the kitty, the government has managed to keep the pump prices low over the last 1 year, but at the expense of other government programs that need funding.
Other programs that should have been funded through the exchequer, for example, Pesa za Wazee, Jamii, free school education, conclusion of roads that needed to be built, affordable housing, healthcare, all these things are going to suffer.
On Tuesday, President Uhuru Kenyatta signed the second supplementary budget that has earmarked 49.2 billion shillings for the fuel subsidy kitty. This is in addition to the 34 billion shillings allocated to the fund in the first supplementary budget. Kamau says the government collects about 24 billion shillings on petroleum products monthly and spends 21 billion shillings on subsidizing fuel.
Pretty much getting your fuel tax-free.
The latest data from Petroleum Institute of East Africa shows that Vivo Energy, the retailer of Shell fuel products, has dominated the market share at 17.1% and local petroleum sales, followed by its rival Total Energies and Ruby's.
The top 5 oil marketing companies, which are Vivo, Total Energies, Ruby's, Ola Energy, have maintained their positions. There's been an increase in growth in most of them.
On dollar shortage, NCBA Group Managing Director John Gashora acknowledged the demand-supply gap in the FX market attributed to the rise in commodity prices, but the supply of dollars remains on track with historical trends.
For elections,
we usually have this problem. And after election, that problem goes away, because after election, the risks disappear, risks disappear, and therefore investors are more willing to invest in the country.
Gashara, however, noted the need to make it more valuable to hold the shilling vis-a-vis the dollar. Caroline Jenga for Primetime Edition.
Kenya is likely to bridge its current 400,000 metric ton rice supply deficit with the operation of the expanded Bunyala irrigation scheme. The National Irrigation Authority has opened up the previous swampy farms for rice farming.
The Bunyala irrigation scheme was started in the 1960s with just 500 acres. The progressive expansion works undertaken by the National Irrigation Authority have seen the scheme expand to its current over 3,000 acres and the number of beneficiaries grow more than tenfold from the initial 150 households to over 2,000 households.
Now from 2014 to date, we've moved that acreage from 1,334 to currently 3,126 acres, spreading across the Usonga sub-county and Budalangi sub-county in Busia and Siaya counties.
The project was conceived as a flood control measure.
We looked at what is a win-win situation. To control the flooding with the land, we did our survey and we realized we have sufficient acreage and we can use the water that is up in the villages to be able now to do the irrigation.
The National Irrigation Authority undertook a survey to establish the suitability of the swampy farms, where it confirmed the soils and water was suitable for farming, setting up irrigation infrastructure in 2021.
Hapa tumekaa hapa inaitwa Magavera irrigation, ambapo tumefungua juzi.
The National Irrigation Authority says the potential for expansion in the area is 2,000 acres, where already 600 acres have been put under irrigation infrastructure, and capacity building of farmers is ongoing in the 300 acres that have not been cropped, while farmers in the cropped 300 acres are already harvesting their first crop. The project has provided a livelihood to farmers who have been leasing farms from the main Bunyala irrigation scheme for years. Rice farmers hope that the project will go a long way in boosting rice production. Regina Manyara reporting for Prime Edition.
Tea production dropped by more than 2.3 million kilograms in the month of March. Data by the Tea Board of Kenya shows production was down by 43.3 million kilos compared to 48.7 million kilos recorded in March 2021. The average monthly auction price for the Kenyan tea dropped to $2.59 per kilo against $2.73 per kilo in February this year.
Lower production in March was attributed to depressed rainfall compared to the same duration in 2021. In the March auction, sales volume for Kenyan tea stood at 45.29 million kilograms, which were higher compared to the 36.40 recorded in February this year. The fall in auction price was attributed to the ongoing Ukraine-Russian crisis, which affected exports and also caused a surge in oil and gas prices, triggering higher inflation. The crisis also affected tea exports, which dropped by 26% to 44.43 million kilograms from 59.77 million kilograms recorded in the same period last year. Local tea sales for March 2022 stood at 2.97 million kilograms against 2.57 million kilograms for the corresponding period of 2021. Total tea sales for the 3 months to March 2022 was 7.60 million kilograms compared to 8.48 million kilograms for the same period in 2021. Reporting for Prime Edition, I am Teresa Mutai. The annual wildebeest
Migration is expected to begin next month at the Masai Mara National Reserves in Narok County, and about 2.5 million wildebeest and zebras at the Serengeti National Reserve in Tanzania have started their journey towards the Masai Mara National Reserve in search of pasture and water. Tonight on Magical Scene, we highlight the wildebeest migration, which is the 8th wonder of the world.
The wildebeest migration, dubbed the 8th wonder of the world, is about to expand.
Patanga mafanikio mengi sana kwa hii migration, kwa sababu kwanza ukiangalia wafanyikazi wengi wanafaidika na hapo, pia kaunti yetu inafaidika na hiyo, tunafaidika kwa njia mingi kwa kupitia hii migration.
Irene Mchuma Udim, Magical Sense in the county of Narok.
Over 60,000 students from selected universities and TVETs have benefited from the Ajira Digital Club that is aimed at empowering young people with skills that will enable them to earn from online work and digitally enabled jobs. ICT Innovation Youth Affairs Principal Secretary Dr. Jerome Ocheng says the Ajira Digital Clubs, which are being established across the country, will help students earn a living through online and gig works on the numerous local and international online work platforms.
Ajira Digital Club's initiative focuses on creating an environment for work generation and skills development to meet the demand and supply side on job creation. The digital clubs being rolled out at selected universities and TVETs countrywide through the Ministry of ICT will equip students with the necessary skills needed in the gig and freelancing economy in Kenya. Already, over 60,000 students from Masinde Muliro University of Science and Technology, Egerton University and Kenyatta University, among other higher learning institutions, have benefited from the digital club and are now earning a living through online and gig works on numerous local and international online work platforms, as well as the over 240 e-commerce platforms under the Ajira Digital Network. Through the program, the youth are being trained, mentored, and linked to various online jobs to enable them to earn a decent wage. The club, run by students, acts as additional training, incubation, and mentorship forum that helps equip the students to access digital and digitally enabled job opportunities. The initiative is part of the national government broader strategy to create an environment for work generations and skills development, as well as incubate an entrepreneurship culture amongst the youth. Every Ajira digital club in each institution has an Ajira patron and Ajira club champions who organize different Ajira clubs activities that are tailored towards involving all students and opening up opportunities for them to learn new skills and venture into digital work. Caroline Jenga for Primetime Edition.
The High Court has ordered internet service providers to block sports pirate websites infringing on copyrighted material. Justice Wilfrida Okwang has made the ruling in favor of MultiChoice Kenya, issuing a takedown notice to ISPs. In November 2019, MultiChoice Kenya filed a suit against Safaricom PLC and Jamii Telcom Limited, seeking to compel the ISPs to block live sports streaming sites on their networks.
The High Court had initially on the 26th November 2022 issued a temporary order to the internet service providers to block the said infringing content, but the same was swiftly stayed by the Court of Appeal on application by Safaricom. MultiChoice Kenya, through its sports broadcasting product SuperSport, argued it has made financial investments to acquire and hold exclusive broadcast and transmission rights for UEFA Super Cup, Champions and Europa Leagues, English Premier League and La Liga in Kenya and other sub-Saharan African countries. Honorable Justice Wilfrida Okwang made a finding that MultiChoice Kenya had lawfully issued valid takedown notices to the ISPs and they ought to have complied with the same. She further found ISPs have not given any lawful excuse for their failure to comply with the takedown notices. On delivery of her ruling, Safaricom requested and was granted by the court 72 hours to comply with the takedown notices. The ISPs have long opposed the takedown provisions in the Copyright Amendment Act and had even sought to have the takedown provisions wholly repealed from the Act. The ruling is a landmark win for MultiChoice Kenya, which has suffered huge revenue losses due to piracy and copyright infringements. MultiChoice Kenya Managing Director Nancy Matemo has said, and I quote, "We have been fighting for years to ensure that there are legal copyright protections and that those protections are enforced." End of quote. The court has reaffirmed the stance of the law that copyright must be protected. MultiChoice says if governments in the rest of Africa follow the Kenyan example to strengthening the standing of Africa as an investment destination. Alan Auko, Prime Edition.
The number of active mobile subscriptions has declined from 65.1 million subscribers recorded by the end of 31st December 2021 to 64.9 million as of 31st March 2022. The Communications Authority of Kenya attributes the decline to the ongoing SIM registration exercise, during which a number of SIM cards have been deactivated. The number of smartphones and feature phones connected to mobile networks as of 31st March 2022 stood at 26.5 million and 33.6 million respectively.
Mobile penetration dropped by 2.5 percentage points and is attributed to the review of the country's population figures from 48.7 million to 49.4 million as per the Economic Survey 2022. During the reference period, mobile money subscriptions grew from 35.2 million recorded at the end of December 2021 to 36.4 million subscriptions by the end of March 2022, hence translating to a penetration rate of 73.8%. The Communications Authority of Kenya attributes the growth to the introduction of various products, with mobile money being a driving force of financial inclusion. In terms of mobile phone devices, the number of smartphones and feature phones connected to mobile networks as of 31st March 2022 stood at 26.5 million and 33.6 million respectively. Their respective penetration rates, computed as a percentage of the total population, were recorded at 54.6% and 69.2%. Domestic mobile voice traffic, both on-net and off-net, declined during the quarter under review by 7.7% and 1.4% respectively. This the regulator attributed to the conclusion of various promotions that were running during the previous quarter. On fixed data subscriptions by operator, during the reference period, Safaricom recorded the highest market shares in fixed data subscriptions at 35.8%, followed by Wananchi Group at 28.1%. At the same time, subscriptions for broadcasting services grew by 1.8% to a total of 6 million from 5.9 million, reported at the end of the second quarter. Alan Auko, Prime Edition.
Thank you, Alan, for that report. Now, nearly 200 vulnerable young women and adolescents in Nairobi and Kiambu counties are the beneficiaries of a 30 million shillings project aimed at enhancing employability, income earning, leveraging technical and vocational skills. The project provides young adults technical training and access to labor markets, financing, and linkages to other strategic partners.
Data from the Grant Thornton's Women in Business Report 2022 indicates that Africa continues to represent a success story for female leaders, reaching 40% of overall senior roles, well above the worldwide average, which is an increase from 39% in 2021 and a significant step up from the 30% in 2018. However, gaps in technical skills have seen women and girls miss out on technical job opportunities.
We are training over 300 girls through a 30 million investment in technical skills such as construction, plumbing, painting, among others.
Through the 30 million shillings partnership between Family Group Foundation and the USAID to Mikia Mtoto project, 176 young women and girls aged between 18 and 24 are currently enrolled or have recently completed training aimed at enhancing their employability, income and livelihoods.
We're building a world in which every girl can be determined, resilient, empowered, AIDS-free, mentored, and safe.
The project provides young adults technical training and access to labor markets, financing and linkages to other strategic partners. The beneficiaries will, in addition to National Industrial Training Authority and National Construction Authority certificates, receive construction tools to equip them as they start their integration into the labor market. Regina Manyara reporting for Prime Edition.
The Kenya Tourism Board has launched a domestic tourism marketing campaign aimed at revitalizing the tourism industry by rallying Kenyans to travel to various destinations within the country. The Kenya Tourism Board has enlisted the partnership of the domestic travel trade to make the campaign impactful through conversations and sales of tour packages. Here are the details of this and other stories in our corporate brief.
The Kenya Tourism Board believes that the partnership with the travel trade will see them combine resources, messaging, and marketing initiatives with an aim of sustaining long-term demand for domestic travel. Kenya Tourism Board CEO Dr. Betty Redia says the program is part of the strategy aimed at addressing challenges facing the tourism industry as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Through the campaign, Kenya Tourism Board is seeking to address several challenges that continue to hinder domestic travel, including perceptions of affordability, a lack of planning culture, and awareness on the available products and experiences available for the domestic travelers. Meanwhile, the Right to Food Coalition, a lobby group that brings together 12 civil society organizations, has launched the Food Manifesto, which are policy proposals for political parties and leaders to adopt in their manifestos.
We ask that political leaders include the agenda of food in their political manifestos, that the duty bearers critically think about the political economy of hunger and put in place structures and mechanisms to be able to address the issue of food security in Kenya.
So it's important that as a people we try to democratize or to really basically get out of the boxes that we have been put in when it comes to food. Everyone has a role to play. Everyone can produce some food somewhere. Agriculture is scale neutral. It doesn't matter whether you are doing it on 5 by 5 meters or you are doing it on 50 hectares. I think it's important that everyone takes that responsibility.
The coalition called on Kenyans to demand politicians to address food insecurity issues, as a recent report released by the National Drought Management Authority indicates that over 4.1 million Kenyans are at risk of starvation. Finally, the Association of Biomedical Engineering of Kenya is calling on the government to fast-track creation of a separate regulatory board for biomedical engineers. The association says even though a bill was drafted 6 years ago, it is yet to be enacted to regulate biomedical engineers, especially in areas of training which have been commercialized by most training institutions.
When you lack a regulatory body, then anybody can actually come in and practice whatever it is that they don't know. So you find so many people practicing biomedical engineering and yet they are not qualified biomedical engineers. And so that is why we were calling upon the government to fast-track the regulation of biomedical engineering as a profession.
I believe we are on track. It's just a matter of time. They will continue. They have a council, so they do exercise some level of self-regulation, although not anchored in law. What we need is to anchor this in law, and that's what we will work with them to make sure that is realized.
They were speaking at the celebrations to mark the International Women in Biomedical Engineering Day. Ndutamukami for Prime Edition.
The Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe, RBZ, has agreed with the Bakers Association of Zimbabwe on measures to stabilize the rising prices of bread. The measures include allowing members of the Bakers Association to access their full requirements of foreign exchange through the weekly foreign exchange auctions for the importation of inputs and procurement of fuel for the distribution of bread across the country. Here are the details of this story and more across the continent.
The price of bread will be adjusted on account of economic fundamentals that include global price trends of inputs and the movement of the foreign currency exchange rate. Zimbabwe has seen a wave of price increases for basic commodities over the past few months amid rising inflation due to internal and external factors. A standard loaf of bread is now costing up to $1.86. The Russia-Ukraine conflict has also caused supply bottlenecks as the country imports 65% of its wheat requirements from Ukraine. Last month, the government lowered tariffs on the importation of basic commodities to curb soaring prices. Meanwhile, the World Bank has approved $143 million financing to help the vulnerable citizens of Somalia overcome the escalating drought and food insecurity conditions across the country. The additional financing will expand coverage of the parent project by 20,000 households. It will also provide emergency cash transfers to 338,000 households, adding to the 168,000 households who are already receiving emergency cash transfers from the Shock Responsive Safety Net for Locust Response project. The World Bank is leveraging partnerships with humanitarian actors in order to alleviate the situation. Nearly 70% of the population is living below the international poverty line. Finally, South Africa has published its latest consumer price index, showing that annual consumer price inflation has broken through the upper limit of the Reserve Bank target. Finally, South Africa has published its latest consumer price index, showing that annual consumer price inflation has broken through the upper limit of the Reserve Bank's target range. Inflation has been recorded at 6.5% as of May 2022. Transport, food and non-alcoholic beverages account for half of the annual rate, with sharp price increases recorded in both categories. Diesel prices jumped by 8.1% between April and May, taking the annual rate to over 45%. The average price of a litre of diesel now stands at $1.48 per litre. Petrol prices have increased by 27% since May 2021.
Kupata police sherehe kama sikiza tune kwenye simu yako, bonyeza star 811 star 758 hash.
Wewe raya, kwa nini unapigia mtu wakati ya sherehe? It's either two things. Iko emergency ama unamwitia sherehe. Usikuwa unasumbua raia mwingine wakati wa sherehe pana. Wacha watu wagule na wa drive safe. Pia mimi niguche kama ni sherehe. Niguche? Nagucha. Wacha achukue simu pasi. Wewe nani? Wacha uchukue simu ya sherehe bwana.
Kupata police sherehe, bonyeza star 811 star 758 hash. Star 811 star 758 hash.
The Postal Corporation of Kenya Staff Pension Scheme and Staff Retirement Benefit Scheme will be holding its annual general meeting on 30th June 2022 at the Hilton Hotel Ballroom from 9:30 a.m. The event will be live on KBC Channel 1. Postal Corporation of Kenya Staff Pension Scheme. My pension, my comfort.
Welcome back. Now, Twitter is trailing a new feature allowing users to share notes as long as 2,500 words. The social media platform normally limits posts to 280 characters. Twitter said the move was a response to seeing people use the platform to post pictures of longer announcements and steer followers to outside newsletters. Details of this and more in news from across the globe.
Test will run for 2 months and involve a small group of writers in Canada, Ghana, the UK and US. The new feature aims to keep audiences in the Twitter ecosystem, with readers able to see a headline and access the longer note by clicking on a link. The move follows Twitter's purchase last month, Year of Revenue, a Dutch newsletter startup. On Wednesday, it said it was folding revenue into the new Notes product, which allows writers to embed GIFs, photos and other features into long-form essays that can be read on and off Twitter. Users will also be able to edit their notes after they have been published. Elsewhere, Elon Musk said Tesla's new factories in Germany and the US are losing billions of dollars due to battery shortages and supply disruptions in China. COVID-19 lockdowns in China this year, including Shanghai, where Tesla has a huge factory, have made it increasingly difficult for manufacturers to operate. In recent weeks, Musk has been warning of job cuts at the firm. Musk said the so-called gigafactories have been struggling to increase production since they were opened earlier this year. Tough restrictions were imposed on the movement of people and material, including the financial, manufacturing and shipping hub of Shanghai. Finally, the head of International Energy Agency has warned that Russia may stop supplying gas to Europe this winter. In recent weeks, several European countries say they received significantly less Russian gas than they expected. Russian officials deny it's deliberate and have blamed technical issues. Before the invasion of Ukraine, Europe imported about 40% of its natural gas from Russia, but that figure has now fallen to about 20%. Across Europe, shortfalls in gas supply continued to be reported. Last month, European countries agreed to protect themselves from the volatility of gas prices by filling up their storage facilities. Terry Njenga, Prime Edition.
Every day, over 15 million members are transforming Africa.